What are we doing, everyone? Hopefully you guys are having a solid start to your Friday here. We're here with our round 3 live stream for the Memorial. Gonna break down PGA DFS, also props for tomorrow, and make sure you're ready to go out there and crush it, just like you're gonna crush your weekend here. So hopefully you've got a drink in hand. If not, hopefully just enjoying time with your friends and family. That's what Fridays, that's what weekends are for. So after we get off the stream here, I'm out to head to a few bars with a few buddies of my own. So yeah, we'll make this quick. We'll get right to it, get to all your questions, and make sure we can add on yet another profitable showdown slate. Today was an absolute smash. We went out there, played the AM wave, and of course, there was a 2-stroke advantage between the two waves. So that was going to lead to a lot of success in large field tournaments. You still had guys like Ricky Fowler go off, who busted a few of my prop slips as well. Guys like Sam Burns, John Rahm got a few under par, but almost, I'd say 90-95% of your top 20 in terms of fantasy point scoring came from the morning wave. So that was a resounding success. I have to say, it looks like we're going to have the same, if not even more of a pronounced edge this time around. So if you like today from the Showdown ROI, just get ready for tomorrow. There's even more slapdicks. You'll be playing against guys that are drinking here on a Friday evening, not doing their research, people that just see golf over there on their Draftkings app and are complete degens and have to get in there. So it's a huge edge. I'm ready to get after it. And of course, towards the end, we'll go through some of the prop stuff too. But let's welcome on in everyone into chat. We got Frady down there first into the chat. Welcome on in, buddy. We got Jeff asking about the giant mound on 15. Reminds you of Crag Mound from Nickelodeon. Yeah, this course has a lot of character. We'll say that, right? A lot of variety with the holes. I know Jack Nicklaus obsesses over it, right? Making sure it's perfect. They were grilling hole 16 with the poor guy on set there, but it's really not a bad golf hole, right? Just a difficult golf hole that's going to frustrate players. So yeah, I like the course. That little mound on 15 is a little bitch. That's for damn sure. And it looks like it really screwed a lot of players, right? Especially trying to go for it into it really screws you up there. Nick Mars says, let's have a round 3. It's going on for sure. Let's go out there and have a day like you did today, Nick. You went out there, absolutely smashed. Love to see it. It's going on, Antonio. Carnage once again, and you loved it. Well, you're going to get it there tomorrow. I can promise you that. And on Sunday, with pin locations that Jack Nicklaus is personally setting, yeah, it's going to be a fun one. What do you make of Bramlett? Poor guy missed a 2-footer. Same thing with Hovland. He missed a 2-footer on hole number 10. So it wasn't just Bramlett. That's just going to happen, right? That's golf, right? That's why it's a 4-letter word. A 4-letter word. Can we go back to Dietrich? I think so. And Riley, especially because they're in the back of the pack, right? We're going to talk about the weather here in a second. Yeah, I think so. They're in the first half of tee times. They've got to be aggressive. And Riley, I'd even throw Dietrich into the same conversation as aggressive players that make a bunch of birdies. Riley is routinely in the top 5, top 10 of opportunities gained. And Dietrich is a really good putter. So yeah, I agree with that. What's going on, Mark? What's going on, Bruce Leroy? And Frady says they actually got round 3 hole locations out. They do? Well, let's start. We'll look at that here in a second. We won't start there, right? We got to look at today first. But that's a beautiful thing. I had the PGA Tourcom's Twitter up here just in case. And look at that. We got the tee times there. It's a good Friday. Yesterday, we didn't have tee times out until a little bit later. They didn't move anything around. So it obviously was just the inverse of day 1. But they didn't post a pin sheet. Jack Nicklaus talked about the course being set up more difficult than he wanted to today. Just weird stuff all around. And then the weather didn't come. Like, he set it up more difficult than he wanted to, expecting like 20, 30 mile an hour winds. And then the weather never came like they were forecasting for. So it was just weird day of golf, and it added up to a 1 over par scoring average. We already mentioned the split between the two waves. That was right around 2 strokes. So this played a little bit more difficult than I think, at least in the afternoon, than I would have expected. Based on morning conditions, I thought I was going to play like 1 over par in the afternoon. Pin locations were pretty difficult, but the winds were non-existent, right? They were calling for a huge split between the two waves. And you could see outside of like 3 p.m., we're cut up to 14 miles an hour for just an hour. It wasn't that much of a jump between the two waves. So we did see that 2-shot difference. I honestly thought we might see like a 3.5 stroke difference if we did have the wind accompanied with it, right? Day 1, what was it? Was it the 3-shot difference? No, it was still just a 2-shot difference. So I guess it was the same thing, but at least a lot of the weather forecasts we were looking at, like the ECM, the NAM model yesterday. We're all calling for a lot more significant PM wind. So when we take a look at the windy over here in a second, you'll see they're calling for the same thing, right? On Saturday, significantly higher winds in the afternoon than the morning. Even if that doesn't bear out, we have a 2-round sample size on what that looks like, right? If there's just a marginal difference in the wind between the morning and the afternoon, well, that's where you get a 2-stroke advantage. A lot of that's not because of the weather. It's also, you have to factor in the firmness of the greens, which anytime you have a course this pristine with, really the ideological mantra of this tournament, right? Of a Jack Nicklaus led golf tournament, whether it's the Honda Classic, right? Jack Nicklaus design, or up here in Dublin, Ohio, is to have a firm, fast, difficult golf course, right? He said firm, fast, but fair was the way that he described it. So it's going to be incredibly difficult. That's going to continue throughout the weekend. So he's going to just dry this place out, continue to make it even harder to hit the greens. I imagine that the fairways are also going to get firmer as the week goes on because they're calling for next to no precipitation. You can see in this model over here, they're calling for like maybe the slight little downpour in the afternoon, but 0.04 inches, right? So really nothing substantial out there that we have to worry about. But these players are going to really have to worry about these winds, where the sustained winds actually kick in a little bit earlier than the first 2 days. They have it coming in closer to 11 or even like 12 p.m., right there towards midday, the wind's coming through. And the wind gusts getting closer to like 13 to 15 miles an hour. We take a look at a few other models. This NEM model is calling for pretty much the same thing. Again, a huge jump in the sustained winds and then also significantly higher wind gusts. We take a look at the ECM model over here. They're calling for even worse conditions tomorrow afternoon. In fact, closer to like 25, 26 mile an hour wind gusts. Which if that ends up being the case, again, that's look at this model from today, right? They were calling for those kind of winds. So maybe we take this with a grain of salt, right? They called for high winds today, this same exact model, and it didn't bear out. But if that ends up happening, this PM wave is going to get slaughtered. These guys in contention are going to be just dealing with a huge headache out there. So much like we did for round 2 Showdown, right, that led us to a lot of success, we want to be targeting the morning golfers. That shouldn't surprise anybody, whether it's for props, whether it's over there for DFS. If you're taking a positive stance on a player, right, you want it to be somebody in the first half of tee times. Now, that's not to say that there won't be PM guys that play well, but when you're looking at a median projection perspective, there's going to be a 2, maybe even a 3-stroke difference between the 2 waves, right? And the reason why I say maybe even a 3-stroke difference is if any of these models, there's a few other ones that are calling for crazy wins. Look at this, right? Pretty significant stuff in this GFS model. This Icon model is calling for, all really high wins, kind of like the ECM model over there. If any of those end up bearing out, these PM guys are going to be absolutely shafted. They're going to have a hard time even breaking like 73, 74. So it's got me looking at those AM wave golfers, which shouldn't be a surprise, especially after how today went. Let's take a look at our player pool, start to talk through some of the decisions that we have to make. There's still going to be a few guys I'm playing towards the top of the board, but they're few and far in between, and they're almost all towards the top of the pricing, right? They're almost all studs. So we'll talk about a few, but Rory McIlroy comes to mind. Jordan Spieth comes to mind as somebody that I'm playing towards the top of the board. Let's see, but like Ricky Fowler, right? Hideki, no chance that I'm playing them. Super chalky guys up top like a John Rahm, Patrick Cantlay have no business being in my player pool. So a lot of it's just baked into who I'm playing. My projections, obviously reflect when people are teeing off the expected scoring average during their wave. And then the projected ownership also reflects that too. There's going to be a bias towards guys playing in the AM wave. That's why guys like a Scotty Scheffler are still getting some ownership, right? 16.7%. Because the truth is, if there wasn't an advantage to be played with the weather, he'd probably be single digit owned. He'd probably be closer to like 10, maybe even like 12% owned. So there's things moving on here, right? A lot of things that I'm starting to incorporate into my models, my projections, so on and so forth. And all of it is accounted for what you're seeing on the screen here. So let's go through a few questions, and then let's go through a few key factors of what I'm targeting tomorrow. What do we do with Scotty? I'm playing him. He's kind of a train wreck this week, and it's not just the putter. We always hear with Scotty that like, oh, if he could just find a putter, he's going to go nuclear. Well, today, it didn't really matter what was going on. He was pretty much shit across the board. He still gained from tee to green, but he didn't gain more than a stroke in either the off the tee or the approach. He lost another 2.8 strokes putting. So it's very similar to day one, but you had guys like Hideki, for example. I mean, let's look at Hideki's stat profile for today, right? This is good ball striking, right? Round 2, gaining 3.4 strokes on approach. Day 1, gaining 2 strokes on approach. So Scotty Scheffler's not really doing Scotty Scheffler kind of things. That concerns me. But with that being said, he's 16.7% owned compared to guys that are like 30% owned, right? Like a Rahm and Cantlay, considering that he has better conditions and it almost doesn't matter, right, that he's playing poorly at this point, right? He's getting the better conditions. We know he's just as good, if not better, than those other 2 players. So I feel like he's the guy up top that I'll be playing in a lot of my lineups in the 11K range. So I'm not going to have him in every lineup, probably like 40 to 50%. He's going to be one of my bigger stands for tomorrow, that's for sure. Xander was razor sharp, I think another 66. I can see it. He's a man with nothing to lose, right? He told himself before round 2, or at least I'm imagining that he did, that he said that he had nothing to lose, might as well go out there, just try and birdie every single hole. That's the mentality that it looked like he took. And of course, 66, right, -6. I believe the second best round of the day. I know Matsuyama went absolutely off today, but Cantlay had a good round too. He went low out there. Not surprising given that he was in the morning wave. If you want to ride one of those hot hand situations, I understand it, but I'm not going to be doing it myself. They're getting slightly inflated ownership. And I guess what I don't like about Xander, because the ownership's only 11.4%, like there are much higher owned guys around him, would be the fact that first off, he's coming off that super hot round, right? It's hard to back up that kind of round. And that he's not really in the nuts conditions, right? He's -1. He's towards like, let's look at his tee time, right? I don't even want to guess on it. I'm assuming he's close to noon is essentially the time frame that I was putting him in there. But let's take a look at it, right? Where's Xander Schauffele? Yeah, he's teeing off 11:35 a.m. So actually a little bit earlier than I thought, but almost his whole round, right, is going to be in the PM wave. Like that 2-stroke difference that we saw today, right? That started at exactly noon today. Well, he's got a 25-minute buffer until he would get to that period. So he's not in the worst conditions, right? The guys that are teeing off at the end at like 1:30 p.m., Justin Suh, Hideki Matsuyama, are going to be dealing with much harder conditions than what guys teeing off at 11:30 p.m. are even going to be dealing with. But it's still not ideal. So there are guys I'm still playing towards the top of the board. It's just that I have to absolutely love them to get to them. Like, for example, Terrell Hatton hitting the ball beautifully. So, if you want to use hitting the ball beautifully as a reason to play Xander, I totally get it, right? Because the stats bear that out. So just to give you an idea with Xander Schauffele, let's look at his shots gained metrics to this point. And today I know he absolutely went bonkers, but let's take a look at it in general. Where's good old Xander? What did he end up at? -1. Wow, even better than wow. What a freaking round for Xander Schauffele. Got to give him props for that. But let's take a look at the stats. So through 2 rounds, he's gained off the tee, he's gained with the putter, and he's a slight loser on approach. He gained 2.4 strokes on approach today. So take it with a grain of salt, right? He lost 2.5 strokes in day 1. I don't hate it. I don't love it. If you're going to play him, right, take him in 35, 40% of your lineups, right? Make him one of your stands up top. I don't hate the tee time. I just don't love it either. It's I'm kind of 50-50 on Xander. I wish I had more I wish I had more people I could play in my pool, but unfortunately we got to get leverage somewhere, right? Mark says Chef is out early. You're guessing he is chalk. I got him at 16.7%. Single entries, higher dollar stuff. It'll probably be like 25 to 30% when the sharps are in there. But these, of course, are meant for large field GPPs. That's what I'm mostly playing for tomorrow. Those kind of contests, you have enough slappies out there that are going to click a Rahm, a Cantlay, that he won't be chalk. Like, he's not going to be higher owned than they are. I would imagine that he's at least 5-10% lower than them, if not the 13-14% that I have right there. So it depends on the contest. If you're talking about like $100 single entry or the 555, probably. Who hurt you by missing the cut? JT was a big one for me. Hadman for you. Yeah, he was up there at the top of the board too. He went full Keegan on your ass. That's probably more unfortunate than JT, who just played horribly the first 2 days. So nothing that really like stuck out where I was like, wow, I can't believe that guy imploded there at the end. But yeah, that's a tough scene. That's a tough scene with Hadman. I saw that on the board and he felt like a rock the entire round. Who would you say is currently the farthest from the lead with the most win equity? So that's not really a concrete question, right? I get the gist though, right? Like, who do I think towards the bottom of the board has win equity, I guess would be the way to put it, right? There's not really a way to quantify that, obviously. But I guess Scotty. I mean, literally, Scotty could still win this golf tournament. And you'd go, oh, what are you talking about, right? He shoots a 65 tomorrow morning. Let's say he regains 2-3 strokes putting, which he does like once every 3-4 events. Like he'll do it from one round, right? He goes out there, he does what he has been doing tee to green. He could improve on that, by the way. He's not even playing that good tee to green at this point. Then he has that spike putting performance. That's shooting like a 65, a 64. I mean, he shoots a 64. He's -5. Those PM players are playing in really hard conditions. I only imagine a few of them, if any of them, are going to break par, right? Maybe one or two are able to go out there and break par. He's going to be just a few off the lead. So, I mean, I think because of the way this course sets up, especially with how difficult it's going to get in the afternoon, that anyone that made the cut can win, especially a Scotty Scheffler. Right now, he's one of the guys who has insanely high potential, right? An insanely high ceiling. Especially when he can grab that putter. But let's find a few others, like Adam Scott at +1. Like I wouldn't count his ass out. If he goes out there and nukes the golf course, who knows? Sahith Theegala, right, played horribly in round one. Today was -4 at one point. Ended up giving 2 strokes back there at the end. Who's to say he doesn't go out there shoot like -5, -6? I would say there's a lot more players in contention for this week than there would be pretty much any other week. Like Justin Suh at -8 does not scare me, right? Hideki at -7 doesn't really scare me either. And honestly, Cantlay at -6 doesn't scare me as somebody that's going to run away with it either too. A lot has to happen. Jack Nicklaus actually gave a prediction on the winning score. I don't know if you guys heard it on the broadcast, but he gave 280, right? Which would be 8 under par to go out there and win this golf tournament. That means that he thinks that Justin Suh, right, if he were to go, 72 would win this golf tournament at that kind of score. That tells me a lot about how he's going to set up this track, right? That tells me a lot about what he expects the scores in the afternoon to be tomorrow. So I think there's a lot more people live than you think. Based on the morning wave advantages, does that bring in players like a Scott or Fitz to win this? I do think it does, especially like Fitz. Fitz is playing really well. That's why we played him in Showdown today, on top of the fact that he was in the right wave. I pointed out the fact that he made a bunch of birdies, and then a lot of his strokes came on the same hole, right? He had like a triple bogey at one point yesterday. He had a double bogey, I believe, as well. Today, it was just a bunch of birdies, right? He got rid of the mistakes. He was able to shoot, I believe, 4 or 5 under par. I think that those kind of players that are making birdies are the guys that you're going to have, right? You're going to have to shoot something crazy low in the morning to have a chance to do this. And it's got to happen tomorrow morning because this course is going to be softer than it will be on Sunday morning, right? We know it's going to firm up a little bit, and they're going to have moving day pins, which moving day pins reward good golf shots, right? So if you can go out there early, you're just firing piss missiles out there. I think there's a 65 out there tomorrow at -7, like you saw. I believe Hideki shot, what did Hideki? Did he get 67 today? He did, yeah. He shot 67. You'll probably see that tomorrow. That I honestly wouldn't blow my mind. Let's check out Ryder's stats and tell me what you think. Am I going to throw up, Nick, or am I going to be really happy that you pointed out Ryder? Let's see. I don't even know where he is. I didn't play him this week. It's like one of the few weeks I didn't take Sam Ryder. I've been a Sam Ryder stan for quite some time. -1 T22. Okay, impressive. Through 2 rounds, he's gained a ton of strokes with the ball striking. Tee to green, what is he, number 7 in the field? Oh my God. All right, guess who we're adding to the player pool? Sam Ryder. So it's not a throw up kind of stat profile we're looking at. It's a why aren't you playing this guy kind of stat profile. And honestly, I tend to agree with you there, Nick. So we're throwing him into the player pool. I'll be adding him to a few lineups after we get off of here. $6,400. It's not an optimal tee time, right? He's -1, but there's still guys you got to play towards the middle of the board. Like there's a bunch of guys like Luke List I'm playing. Like we'll get to the bottom of the board here in a second, but Sam Ryder, I'm liking that. I really am. Pendrith, Jaeger, or Bez, they're all okay plays. I don't think they're my favorite. They're not guys that I have in my personal pool, but they're all cheap. They're all low owned. Like what? Pendy's 2.5%. Where's Jaeger? Right? Jaeger's a little bit more expensive, is he? Yeah, Jaeger's up here, $7,400. He's 8.8% owned. I have to say, don't love the ownership on Jaegerbomb. That'd probably be the one issue there. And then Seabez, yeah, more expensive, $7,600, 7.9% owned. Don't love the play, don't hate it either. Like especially like Jaeger, Bezainhout, if you really wanted to take them, like your gut was telling you to play either of those two players, then throw them into your player pool. They're kind of 50-50 guys for me. And unfortunately for them, right, they're on the 50% that's out of my player pool there. Thinking of Fox, Scott, Lowry tomorrow. What are my thoughts on that? So Fox, high upside play. Scott, I like him too, early tea time. And Lowry, early tea time too. I like all three, man, especially if you're taking that as a core, right? It's three low-owned players. Fox was relatively chalky coming into the week because of how he played coming in. I like this as a bounce back spot, right? Single round, showdown out there. Try and move up the board. I like the idea there. Tom Kim screwed you. You're a donkey for playing him. You're not a donkey, man. You're going to play guys that miss the cut. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. You're going to make mistakes. Am I a donkey because I played him and Justin Thomas this week? Maybe, right? Maybe I am. But at least for me, I've been doing this long enough to where I know even on the best weeks, I mean, last week, nearly took down a damn GPP, won 15 grand. And I had Jordan Spieth. Who else is a core play last week that missed the cut? Sun GM that missed the cut last week. And guess what? I won $15,000. So if you make one mistake, you're not a donkey. Guys miss the cut. That's just how golf works. Hubbard, okay, let's take a look at his stats because he's towards the top of the board. He's getting some ownership. That's the issue that I have with Mark Hubbard. T5 at this point, but we'll take a look for you. He's gaining on approach like that, gaining with number 3 around the green in the field. And he's number 19 with the putter, getting nearly 3 strokes around the green and over 2 strokes with the putter. That's worrisome to me, especially because it's all coming with the short game. Last week at the Charles Schwab Challenge, he gained like 9 strokes on approach. He was number 1 in that field, I believe, in shots gained approach, which is actually, he might have been number 2 behind Scotty Scheffler. But he gained 9 strokes on approach. That's not going to happen for many players in their careers, let alone somebody like a Mark Hubbard. That's why I thought he was so notable this week. And I think that's why a lot of his ownership was there for your main slate stuff. It's also why his ownership's going to be there tomorrow. So you can see I have him at 10% owned, $7,400. So he's more expensive now. Just, I think you kind of missed the party to play him. Like if you took him for your main slate stuff, great. You're in a really good situation, but I don't know if you want to chase that for Showdown. Patrick Rogers, back-to-back -2s. He got talked up by Jack Nicklaus. So I can tell you right now, and I included it in my ownership projections, he's going to be chalk. And I got him at 11.2% right there. He's -4, right? He's towards the top of the board anyway. So, yeah, I'm not playing him because he's got that Jack Nicklaus curse on him. Last year, I forget who he said who to look out for. They went out there and shot like an 80 the next day. So, and I took the bait of trying to tail that player like a complete slapdick, and I'll never do it again. Siwoo for the win. I would love it. Siwoo, how's Siwoo playing? I always taking a look at the shots gained. My shots gained get incorporated into my projections, but I usually don't look at them because a lot of it's just like behind the scenes there. Most of mine's just game theory based on who I'm getting to. Right? I watch the golf. I know that Rory went out there, gained to pretty much all 4 categories today. He was unbelievable at pretty much everything. I know Jordan Spieth was horrible at everything today, right? We faded him for a reason. My Jordan Spieth radar is ridiculous. But look at this. Actually, you can't see my screen right now. I should know this. But Siwoo Kim, number 1 off the tee, number 17 on approach, and number 8 around the green. That's beautiful. He's losing with the putter, and he's top 5 right now. I got him at 80-1. I mean, I'm liking that. I have to say, Carmi, we need a putter. We need a putter for him to come through. He's going to have to gain it some point. Like, he's not Scotty Scheffler, right? He's not winning this losing with the putter. Like, I'll die on that hill. You like Fowler over 71.5. Okay, so you're thinking about props already. I'm liking PM guys for overs. So Ricky Fowler, pretty late tee time, probably not the worst idea. Look up Cam Davis's stats. You did and legit threw up. So this is a throw up one. Okay. He missed the cut. Yeah, so he's got to have real nasty stats. But let's see how he did it, right? +9. Yeah, he only gained with the putter. That's throw up stats for sure. Yeah, he gained like 0.7 strokes with the putter, then lost like 3 strokes on approach and around the green. Pretty much on par for him. I know the afternoon played hard today, but what the heck, man? 7 bogeys. Yeah, it's tough out there, man. Like you had guys shooting 88 out there. I forget who shot 88. What, Chad Ramey? Billy Ho shot an 84 out there. Like it's one of those kind of courses. Like if you're even slightly off, you're getting exposed. Thoughts on Tagala? I actually like him. So he's one of those like chalky plays that I'm considering taking, right? He's in my player pool as of right now. He's going to have good conditions out there. You know, you're tailing a pretty good round. He went out there, I believe, made 8 birdies on the day, but at $8,500 at a course that he's historically killed, he's one of those few players that I think might be able to back it up, right? I'm looking for a reason to play somebody that had a good round, right? It's got to be somebody I was on to begin the week, right? And Sahith was a core play for me. Like, I love him at this golf course. So he's one of those guys I'll tail right after a decent round. Like Jordan Spieth, he's chalk, but I'm playing him because I loved him this week, right? I think he's going to have a really good weekend. So like, I kind of want to hop on that. So if there's chalk, I'm taking like Rory's the same way, right? I played him for my 4-round stuff. There's not that much chalk I'm taking up top, and it's my conviction plays this week, right? It's not because I took them in main slate that I'm taking them. It's because I think they're the best plays this week, right? The guys that fit the golf course the best in those 3 perspectives. So, yep. We've got a good evening. What's going on, Carpaccio? We're going to be going over prop soon, so immaculate timing. SH Kim is the play. He's the play if he's hitting his irons well. SH Kim is a volatile putter. Never really know what you're going to get there, but that's kind of a good thing, right? Because you get that positive end from the putting volatility. You can shoot like a -6, -7. But I want to take a look at these approach numbers. Let's see what he's doing. Yeah, he's losing on approach. I'm out, but you can hope for a bounce back. I've seen crazier things happen, right? Just because he's played poorly on approach to now doesn't mean it's going to continue. I love Spieth tomorrow. So how's my Spieth radar tomorrow? Thinking we're getting a low one from Spieth tomorrow. He's made a habit of late, right? On Saturdays of going out there when he's like kind of borderline in contention and then getting himself into the final group. He's done that at least like 3 times in the last month or so. Like 2 months ago, right? It was that whole month stretch where he was pretty much doing this. Maybe he does it again. Maybe it's wishful thinking because I love Jordan Spieth, but everything's pointing me to play him today. And like I said, I feel like I have a really good radar for when he's going to go off. And I have a really good feeling about his round tomorrow. I'll just say that much. Like I'm playing him on everything. Props, DFS, underdog drafts. I'll be taking Jordan Spieth, potentially even in the first round. I'm going to be a nut about it. Thagala made 27 birdies today. He made 8 today, but yeah, I will be. Thoughts on Bazane Hoot? I think he's an okay play. Kind of 50-50 on him right now. Not my favorite, not my least favorite play. What am I doing with Sam Bennett? He's a stud. I'm not playing him, but I'm going to be watching and tracking his round very closely, mostly for his future, right? So day 1, he gained tee to green, including a little bit putting, had a really good day, right? Shot under par. Today shot 2 over par, but gained off the tee, gained on approach, and was right about a neutral with the approach around the green play, I should say, and then lost 2 strokes putting. That's where the 2 over par came from. So Sam Bennett, very quietly, looking like a really, really good player, looking like future superstar kind of player. So keep an eye on him. He made the weekend and no one's talking about it. If he goes out there, he shoots 3 or 4 under par tomorrow, people are going to be talking about it because he's going to be in the top 10. Favorite early play for me, Scotty. I'll have a lot of Scotty tomorrow, but if you're making me be more creative, not just taking one of the best players in the world, you're going to have to let me think about it for a second. You know, these 8K guys are a good option, but I feel like a 7K guy is kind of what you're looking for at this question. It's Kuchar. Kuchar played well today. This is a course that he historically kills. And if I'm going to tail a good round, or if I'm going to take somebody that's chalky, this is the tailing the round portion of that argument. I'm only going to do it, right, if it's somebody that I liked going into the week. And Kuchar was one of those guys. So it's probably Matt Kuchar. He made a shit ton of birdies today on the hard side of the golf course. So that was impressive to me. Can a golfer with braces place top 10? Oh boy, you mean Fitzy out there? I think it may be one of 66 that made the cut. Probably. I think he's got a good chance. He's playing well. Luke, your wife's boyfriend made big bank on the greens regulation props. At this point, you think you're the boyfriend and he's the husband. I love it. For single entry, who is your favorite cheaper play for tomorrow? If we're talking really cheap, I mean, this guy's bottom of the board that I'm playing, but probably Luke List. That guy makes a shit ton of birdies. You're probably going to get a bunch of bogeys mixed in, but you're going to have to live with that if you're going to go out there and have success. Thoughts on Reavie? I like him too. Really cheap play. So I scrolled through that a little bit quickly, but yeah, Ches Reavie, $6,300. He's getting a little bit of ownership steam, right? You can see I have him at 4.5% ownership, but he's another player that going into the week, a lot of people liked, right? Lots of people betting him top 5, top 10 because of the course fit and because he started kind of sluggishly, right? Just even par at this point, people are going to throw him to the curb. You're not going to see a ton of people playing him, and he's not in the perfect conditions, right? He's not teeing off the first hour or so of play. But yeah, at his price tag, I like him. Sub +5 or more tomorrow, I'm with you on that. Completely agree. Can I look over Fox's round? Yeah, honestly, I don't even know how he got it done today. So it's probably something I should do anyways. He made 5 birdies, mixed in 3 bogeys. Very respectable round, good round for today. Unfortunately, nothing. He gained from tee to green and he slightly lost with the putter. That's a sustainable type of round. And he's not like he's towards the chalky range, right? It's not like we're looking at a Ryan Fox who's like 10% owned or going off super late. I love him. 4.5% owned. Count me in on Mr. Fox. He's looking like a solid GPP play. He's going off early, hitting the ball well. Round 1 is maybe the more important stat profile to look at. Right? He lost 3 off the tee and he lost a stroke on approach. So I'm glad that he shook that off. But now that he has, and he's still only carrying that low ownership number, I love his chances for sure. I like what we're seeing there. All right, let's talk some lineup construction and then let's hop into these props. So let me share my screen, bring up DraftKings, and there's a few different lineup constructions I want to talk through, especially if you're in the large field GPP. So if we're talking cash, guys, play all AM, guys. You know, the chalk is usually kind of what you go after. You're going after like round 4 showdown for like a normal slate. But when we have this big of a weather edge, you just take the AM guys. So take all the, I don't know, I guess Scheffler's almost a must play. Even at 11 grand, I feel like he's almost a must play. But if you're going to go after the AM guys like Morikawa, right, you could take a really balanced approach, put like a Fitz in there. Let's throw Thagala in there. Let's throw Sanjay. Like you could just pepper this 8K range if you wanted to. I kind of like the Scheffler version a little bit more just because I really do think he's going to smash tomorrow. So you could throw him in there, maybe Sahith, Adam Scott, Lowry, good options too. So maybe you go with those two. In cash, I would take guys teeing off at least in the first half of tee time. So we're not going to spend too much time there. It's relatively straightforward, right? Just play the guys with the built-in edge. If you're looking at GPP contests, there's a few different ways you can differentiate yourself. So if you see yourself taking some chalk tomorrow, which I do, there's going to be some chalk that I'm playing, right? Like even Scheffler's getting some ownership. It's not like he's a pivot up top. Maybe a pivot compared to Rahm and Cantlay, but he's still getting over 15% ownership. So let's not kid ourselves, right? He's still relatively high owned. We threw Scotty Scheffler into this lineup. Maybe we want to take a Spieth too, right? I told you, I really think he's going to have a good round tomorrow. So I'm going to have him in a lot of these kind of lineups. Let's throw in another kind of chalky guy. Let's see. I'm trying to find somebody with at least like 10% ownership. There's not a ton that I'm playing, truth be told, but let's throw in Thagala, right? Thagala is going to get a little bit of ownership too, especially after his round from today. If you wanted to start with these 3 kind of players in a large field GPP, you're going to have to mix in a few sub 5% owned players. You're going to have to force in differentiation. And what I want to point out here is that a really easy way to do so, and it's twofold. So not only are you going to get a bunch of leverage by doing what I'm about to do right now, you're also going to get a lot of salary savings. So you're fixing 2 things at the same time, right? You're going out there, differentiating, giving yourself leverage, but you're also letting yourself spend up one more time. And it's just being a really aggressive down low. I talked about Ches Reavie. There's a few other guys down here like an Eric Cole that I really like down here in the 6K range. That lets you take another 8K option. So if I wanted to finish off this lineup with a Shane Lowry, I could, right? Whereas, before we put in those 2 players, we were at $7,100. We had no dream of playing an 8K golfer, right? But because we were so aggressive towards the bottom, not only did we get 2 guys in Reavie, who was the other guy we took? I honestly don't even remember. I honestly don't remember. Oh yeah, Eric Cole, right? Eric Cole's like 4.5% owned, something like that. 2 guys that are sub 5% owned. We have more than enough differentiation, and we get that extra salary savings. So I like those kind of builds a lot. You'll see a lot of the top end GPP players, especially those that are like 150 maxing for the large field contest, taking that kind of strategy, really going out there and scattershotting the bottom end of the board. Because especially for just like an 18-hole sample size, it's not that crazy for one of those kind of guys to go out there and shoot 3-4 under par. And considering tomorrow's conditions, 2-3 under par could very well be the nuts. So I'm kind of preparing myself knowing that you're going to see a lot of surprising guys have decent rounds out there. So I'm hammering the bomb. You saw that, right? Like, it's not just Reeve. Like, Davis Thompson was in my poll. Guys like Luke List I'm playing. SH Kim, I know somebody mentioned him. Like, I don't love SH Kim, but you could still play him. He's really cheap. There's not a ton of 6K range golfers to choose from, but in that small selection are a lot of quality golfers. So it's not like you're even fishing for guys that suck. Like, Eric Cole's a good golfer. If you wanted to take Patrick Rogers, right, because Jack Nicklaus talked him up, well, he's a pretty damn good golfer at $6,900. So there's a couple ways that you could take that. If you're playing in a single entry, I don't think you have to be as crazy about it, right? You know, the need to go out there and really differentiate and get leverage is minimized in some of those single entry kind of contests. But you're not going to want to go out there and take all the chalk, right? All the guys at the top of the board that are going to be playing in shitty conditions. You still want to be taking guys that are pivots. So something that I like doing in some of those single entry kind of builds is maybe taking some of the pivots up here at top, especially being more balanced about it. So let's throw in a bunch of pivots that are teeing off early. Let's throw Thagala in there. It's like, I know he's getting some ownership, but he's not mega chalky. Let's throw good old Morikawa in there. Let's throw Fitzy in there. Same kind of thing. At $7,100, you could easily round off this kind of build. And in a large field GPP, right, we're not, you know, you could use this lineup too, honestly, especially with your value play. If you took somebody you knew was going to be low on, like, let's say like a Luke List, for example, you can enter this into a large field GPP, but in a single entry lineup, you could enter this and you have no issue at all. I mean, you can even play Ryan Fox here, right? Ryan Fox is still getting some ownership. You could even take a chalky guy at $7,200 if you wanted to, like an Austin Eckert, who's getting like 8-9% ownership, and you'd have no issues in one of those smaller field kind of contests. So the reason why I point that out is I feel like a lot of people hear the words leverage, they hear the words differentiation, right? All these buzzwords that these DFS touts put out there, and think that they apply to every single contest. Most of those are only applying to the largest of large field contests, right? Your actual GPPs, your tournaments, where you're playing against 50,000 entries, that sort of thing. If you're playing against 100 entries or even like 1,000 entries, you're not playing nearly the same kind of ball game. So just keep that in mind. The smaller the field, the less you have to worry about all that kind of stuff, and the more that you can just go out there, do some fundamental analysis. We're going to go ahead, take a look at props now. We'll go through any last second DFS questions. Then we're going to hop on out of here. And after we do our prop stuff. So let's see what's going on. You love, actually, got to get to a question before that. We'll be there in a second, Antonio. But Carmi asks, thoughts on Keegan going off earlier and nobody with him. So nobody famous in his group. So no like distractions is I guess what he's dealing with. I want to look at the shots gained. I know he played decently today, made 4 birdies. That was pretty hype when it came to his props for us, but let's take a look at the shots gained, right? Let's look at the analytics. Round 2, lost with both ball striking categories. He's a good flyer play. Now, I wouldn't be using him as a conviction play. The main worry, right, is that his ball striking today was horrible, but he still made 4 birdies somehow, right? He's only 7.2% owned. So I'm playing him, but I don't love him, right? He's not going to be in my single entry. I probably wouldn't do that. I love Hoagie. The dude was dialed in with the irons. Yeah, let's take a look at it. I'm curious how many strokes he gained with the irons. He ended at like -1, right? He had a hell of a day, if I can remember. That's correct. Let's see. Round 2, gained 2.4, almost 2.5 strokes with the irons. Yeah, if you're going to play somebody towards the middle top of the board, Hoagie's not a bad guy to take, right? He's going to be getting some ownership. You're going to be tailing that really good round. But an iron guy that went out there and absolutely just killed it with the irons, right? Had a top 5 iron day is one of the few guys I would probably play in that scenario. So yeah, I'm all for that, bro. Looking at Pendrith, but do you like List? And he's the number 1 dude out of the gate. I do like List. List is just a volatile mofo. It's all about the putter for him. And even when he doesn't have the putter, sometimes he'll make a shit ton of birdies because he's hitting balls to 5 feet all day. He is arguably the best iron player in the world. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. I mean, look at this. He gained 3 strokes with the irons today. Day 1, he gained a stroke, and you could argue that's a bad round for him. Of course, right, he lost an insane amount of strokes putting each day. Is he last in the field of the guys that made the cut? No, he's second to last of the guys that made the cut in terms of shots gained putting. And he still made the cut. And look at this tee to green stuff, right? He's number 16 in the field. So, yeah, I like Luke List. He's always on my short list because of that approach play. What site is the Green G avatar? Not sure, honestly. Where at? This one, the Draftkings? I honestly don't know. I don't see it up there. And Luke List and Scotty both lost almost 3 strokes putting today. Yeah, exactly. You hope it turns around. What are you doing with the Postman? Maybe avoiding. Let me see. I think I have him in a few lineups. I have to double check my exposure. It's not many if I have him in lineups, but let me give you the real answer. It's not even. No, I don't have him in lineups. If I was going to play him, I would just probably take a little sprinkle of it because he had a good round today. He played dreadfully in round 1. He's not the type of guy that usually goes out there and kills it for like 2-3 straight rounds. He's more of the kind of guy that just like pops up out of nowhere and has that 4 or 5 under par round. I don't hate the play though. He's low owned. He's cheap enough you can get to him. He's teeing off early. Just didn't make my short list. Stewie Sink is having a low-key good week. I always like playing him. He makes a lot of birds. Yeah, he's getting up there in age. You know, he's playing on the senior tour now. So he's, you know, got that to worry about. I got to worry how much he's practicing, that kind of stuff. But he made the cut. He's in 34th right now. He's gaining on approach and gaining around the green. Yeah, he's probably going to lose a bunch of strokes putting. I just have to say that. Like what he gained 2 today. He lost that 1.5 the first day. He's probably going to resort to that kind of form. He's just he's not the best. He's not the best flat stick player at this age. He definitely lost that throughout the years, and it's unlikely that he gains 2 strokes again. I'll say that much. So you might be chasing that a little bit there, Antonio. All right, let's go through a few of these props. Let's go through some of our analysis here, and hopefully they posted bogey props over here. They did. Look at that. Let's see. Did Prize Picks post? That would be the holy grail here if we got all the sites. It doesn't look like we got our wish there, but if we, go through the Underdog board, we'll go through some of our analysis. Maybe by the end we'll get a Prize Picks board. Who knows, right? That'd be pretty sweet. Let's go through any questions, and then, oh yeah, that's right. Pin locations. I did forget. It's a good way for us to stall and wait for Prize Picks too. You got Scott and Rory in a single entry with your 2 guys you mentioned under 7K. I like it, especially because Scott's going off early, right? Rory maybe not going off early, but right, you're going to mix in somebody towards the top, right? We know somebody that's the middle top of the board is going to have a decent day. And if you think that's Rory, I like it. So let's go through these pin locations. So thank you for reminding me, Antonio. That was clutch. These are going to be important when we're looking at props. They look like there's a few tucked ones, right? This one's 3 from the edge. That's pretty tough. 4 from the edge, 5 from the edge, 5 from the edge. It's tough to say without having the slope on here, right? Without going hole by hole, looking at some of the contouring. But let's try and look at some of the more difficult holes. So 16, 17, 18, right? Kind of notoriously difficult. That's I would say, more manageable pin than the one they had over here to the top right that was right in front of the bunker today. We had guys bailing out all day into the bunker, making bogey. The fact that it's here over here to the left, you can feed in a ball from the right side. I don't think it's an easy birdie hole, but I don't think it's as difficult as what you had for today. So it's pretty close to where they had it for round 2, which is kind of funny, but it's far enough to the left now that it's not going to be as much of an issue. 17 is a difficult par 4. It's a back pin, which for a long par 4 is actually helpful. So I don't hate that. And then 18, this front pin, that's a tough one. I think there's a little bit of a slope right here, though. So right behind where this 8 is, there's a little bit of a slope feeding towards the front of the green. You might be able to take a shot and run it off that and get it close. So I'm going to have to take a look at ShotLink later on, confirm that. But 18 might actually be the easiest pin that they have all week. So 17 is not so bad, assuming that there's not like a ledge up there. And to my knowledge, I don't think there's a ledge in that back right. 16 is not so bad. Let's look at a few other of the really difficult holes. 1 and 10 are hard. This pin at 10 looks pretty average, would say. The hole at number 1 actually looks easy, right? This middle right pin doesn't look like it's going to be all that troublesome. I was kind of hoping that they would take it hard on these players. And until I look at the sloping, right, try and take a look at, where like the slopes are going to be feeding golf balls. I don't know if that's what we're getting. Like hole number 3, right? It's 3 from the side. Like that's tough, right? But there are holes that are in the middle of the green, right? These 16 through 18 that are infamously difficult don't really look that bad. Nothing definitive, I'd say. It doesn't look like these are overly hard pins, and it doesn't look like they're overly easy pins either. You have your share of front pins, right? Hole number 8, little front pin, 5 on, 5 off the side. Hole 17, 7 on, 7 off the side. That's an incredibly easy pin location. This location at 7 is straightforward. 11 is straightforward. I would argue that 4 is not so bad. Yeah, there's a good mix in here, right? You have the ones that are devilish, right? 3 from the side. Then you have ones that, especially if there's slopes around them, and a lot of times we get this for a moving day kind of slate, you have pins that are even easier that are towards the middle because you have the slopes that help you out. So we'll have to take a look at that. I'll do some deep diving after we get off the stream here before I go with all of my prop exposure, and that'll give us a little bit more clarity, but it's kind of a toss-up right now. I'm not seeing it being too difficult or too easy. Of course, Carmi, thank you for stopping on by. Best of luck over there for tomorrow, whether it's for props or DFS. And let's get it. So let's take a look at this underdog board. I was peeking before. I was doing a little bit of cheating, taking a peek on the side, trying to take a look. And I'm very close to wanting to nuke this board because Jack Nicklaus was very ominous in his saying that at -8 would win this golf tournament. Colt Nost asked him, and I can almost assure you that he asked him because he was trying to bet himself, right? Colt Nost is a degen, right? Probably bets a lot. If he doesn't, he's probably having friends bet for him out there. And Jack Nicklaus said that it would be difficult, that -8 would probably win. These PM golfers that are going to be dealing with the firm, fast conditions, the scoring average is likely going to be 2 over par, if not like 2.5 over par. I'll remind you that some of these wind models, right, are calling for really, really nasty wind gusts, right? This one's calling for like 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts, which on this kind of course would not be good. Over here on the ECM models, the same kind of thing. GFS, I think, is a little bit lower, but still like towards 6, 7 p.m., it's like 13 to 18-mile-an-hour winds. The NAM model is a little bit lower than that, but it's still like 18-mile-an-hour wind gusts. I mean, I'm thinking a lot of fades. And what I want to wait for, and kind of what I'm waiting for to fire on all my exposure, and I might wait to place a lot of my props until I see prize picks, is because I feel like they are going to price this a lot higher. Like, I feel like guys like Victor, Colin Morikawa, especially guys like Victor, right, that are teeing off towards midday, are probably going to be like 72 strokes. You know, yesterday, right on stream here, the guys on the morning on Underdog, as in the afternoon, were at the same kind of prices. It was like they had no bias involved for the weather. On price picks, there was a huge impact, right? They had guys in the morning a little bit lower at like 3.5 birdies. Sorry, the other way around, right? Guys in the afternoon at like 3.5 birdies. And then they had the guys in the PM wave at much easier to hit lines, right? Lines that were lower than what they had on Underdog. I wonder if that same trend is going to continue, right? Where like one site is ignoring the weather, and then one is overplaying the weather. I have a sneaking suspicion that's going to be the case, right? Like, you look at these morning guys, like the Shane Lowry line right here. I imagine it's probably pretty consistent across both sides. Like, both probably have 4 birdies, maybe 3.5 over there on prize picks. This strokes line, maybe it's 72.5 on prize picks if I had to guess, but I don't think his projection is going to be too far off. Where I think you're going to see the differential is with guys like Hideki Matsuyama. Right, Hideki's at 71 right now. I feel like on prize picks, they might post him at like 72.5 because of how hard the conditions are going to be. Maybe it's just 72, right? But I think there's probably going to be a stroke discrepancy there. For the birdies are better, I can almost assure you that I'll be at 3.5 birdies, not 4 birdies. Let's find a few others. Like Terrell Hatton's probably at 3.5 birdies instead of 4. Let's find a few other later tee times, like Jordan Spieth at 4 birdies. I feel like on prize picks, we're going to be able to get him at 3.5, right? So I would never take this over at 4 birdies. So I do think he's going to have a good round, but I wouldn't want to touch this under 71 here because on prize picks, I feel like we're going to get such a better number. So I'm going to wait for that. I feel like the prudent move right now is probably to wait until the other site posts, but it's going to be a lot of fades for these PM wave golfers, whether it's unders on, birdies are better, overs on bogeys, which honestly, looking through this board, this is probably my favorite prop right now. Let's find one more to pair with it. We're going to put one slip together here for the stream. I'm leaning towards that right now. He's one of the latest tee times. 2.5 bogeys is too low for anybody. I mean, John Rahm, 2.5 bogeys. It's a little bit harder to fade, but he's not the best bogey avoidance player. In fact, I want to bring up his bogey avoidance stat real quick because it, I believe, is way worse than people would expect. Either way, we're not going to guess, though. We're going to bring it up, find the stat for you guys. And if it's as bad as I think it is, I think he's outside the top 50 on tour. then we're nuking that. We're 100% betting that. So let's bring it up, see where he is. Scoring stats over here on the PGA Tour. We can share our screen once again. We got the PGA site up. Where are we at? Over par scoring, no. There we go. Bogey avoidance. Come on, PGA. You got this. He's number 7 on tour. Okay. Vastly incorrect about that. Good thing we checked on that. I know Cantlay is good with bogey avoidance, but that man is easy to hate. I'm fading him in everything. He's playing in the hardest conditions. I'm fading him. Jon Rahm, not as easy to sell me on the fade. So I might keep Jon Rahm out of there. Let's find someone else. Let's find a slapdick to fade, right? And hopefully they add guys like a Justin Suh to the board. Maybe they'll add guys like a, Hubbard to the board. Maybe it'll be a David Lipsky, right? That's towards the top of the board. I don't want to only have studs to bet on, right? Like fading the scrubs is so much more fun, right? Betting on like David Lipsky to make 4 bogeys, I feel like is a good time for Saturday. So come on, give us those props, Red Mamba, if you're watching. We want Justin Suh, Mark Hubbard. We want David Lipsky props. We want whatever scrubs you're willing to post, frankly, for round 3, because it'll give us more variety. And I know you're going to have to post them higher, right? Higher bogeys, higher strokes. That's fine. Just give us some of that selection if you're watching. That would be fantastic. Now, I know you watch, so it'd be sweet if you could work that out. See, a 2-man nuke. Yeah, I got the over for Cantlay there. Let's find one more prop. Whether it looks good tomorrow, it doesn't. I don't know what you're looking at, Chief. All of these models we're looking at from Muirfield Village Golf Club does not look good. This is the best model that you've got for weather, and it's calling for 12 to 15 miles an hour wind in the afternoon. In terms of your wind gusts, it's closer to 15 to 18 miles an hour. Keep in mind that all these numbers here are in knots, and knots are lower than miles an hour. So you have to multiply this by like 1.1 to get the number in miles per hour. And this is I would say the more favorable weather forecast. You look at this one, they're calling for like 25 to 26 mile an hour wind gusts. This Icon model is calling for like 23 to 24 mile an hour wind gusts. This Meteo Blue one, let's see, is calling for like 18 mile an hour wind gusts. Yeah, that's I would say sub-ideal weather. That's not good weather. I have to say that. You're not spewing fake news. I'm not saying that you're doing that. I want to say you might want to check your forecast though. Do you like him tomorrow? I do. Let's get to the 2-man nuke. Yep. Single entry, late tee times. Any advice? I wouldn't. Oh, so you're saying for the later tee time slate? I'd probably still try to avoid the chalk, right? Like the guys that are chalky for the main slate stuff are also going to be really, really chalky for that, right? And now there's less players to choose from, right? Everyone's going to be higher owned, but on a relative basis, right? The guys that are mega chalk for main slate are probably your highest owned players over there. So you can play it the same kind of way, Mark, right? You try and take some differentiation and whatnot. It's a single entry, so you don't have to worry about it all that much, but it's pretty much the same, just with the smaller pool. Does Cantlay's off the tees issues make this scare me? Let's off the tee issues. He's been playing well of late on approach. I should say off the tee. What am I saying on approach? How's he playing this week? So I guess the question, right? Yeah, he's gaining on approach off the tee this week. I have no issues with him with his driving. He seems to be driving it pretty well, actually. He's playing well this week. Are you staying away from Woodland? Yeah, I am. I just don't love him. He played well today, right? So it's kind of like backing up the low performance. Calling over 3 bogeys. I wish he was at 2.5. That's kind of what I say when I look at these guys at 3 bogeys. I always just wish they were at 2.5. But yeah, I might be the play, honestly. You're a big fan of Lee Hodges' game. Yeah, he's a ball striker. That's for damn sure. He's a flusher of the golf ball. He's -3 up there towards the top. Gaining a bunch with the ball striking stats. Yeah, if there's a chalky guy you're going to take, or one of those kind of like scrubs towards the top that might actually keep it up in round 3, it's a Lee Hodges, right? Somebody that's, 6 strokes gained with the ball striking, that's good stuff. Yeah, Hovland over 3 bogeys is probably the one that I'm leaning towards. Who actually likes Cantlay? Exactly. Cannot stand the guy, dude. Like, that's literally why I'm fading him. Like, if I had to choose between him and Rahm on who I'm going to take over 2.5 bogeys, they're pretty much the same play, right? They're teeing off near the same tee time. Their bogey avoidance stat is very similar, right? One's number 7, one's number 9. Cantlay is infinitely a better play because you get to also root against Cantlay and yell "fuck you" on every bogey that he makes, right? And celebrate like it's like you just hit a home run. So it's twofold. You get to win on him making bogeys because he's a slappy, and then you get to root against Cantlay. It's a win-win, right? Why wouldn't you want to do it? Prize Picks is up. Let's go. Sweet. This may lead to me nuking props, by the way. Just a fair warning. Yeah, we're seeing the numbers I thought we would. It's definitely skewed based on tee time. That's the first note, right? Hideki 72.5. Oh boy. I told you guys I thought he might be 72 and he's there. Oh boy. Yeah, we're probably going to end up nuking this board like right now. All right, we're going to end the stream. This is the slip we're going to do for the stream. I'm going to head out of here and enter a lot of slips. So, hey, if you're on the Patreon, you guys will see what I'm entering. I got a lot of work I got to do because these props up there in Underdog need to get nuked. They're way too low. So take the Hideki over 71, take this Cantlay over because we want to root against the most boring player in the world. I've got shit I've got to get done. I appreciate all of you guys down in chat. Hopefully you feel a little bit more prepared for Showdown or for props. On props, go to Underdog and fade the guys on there that are playing late. So I can tell you, I've got to go get in my slips myself. Also, got to enter some DFS lineups for tomorrow. Of course, we'll be doing the same thing for round 4, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. Be going over props and DFS there as well. And of course, for Sunday, it's where we have a lot more selection on these prop sites. We get to bet against a lot of the studs, particularly if they're in contention. And we get a lot of casuals playing that don't even know how Sunday Showdown works. So if there was an edge yesterday, there's probably going to be an edge for tomorrow. Probably one for Sunday too. Let's go ahead and add to that bankroll. Like I said, guys, let's take home a GPP, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.